What's up, guys? Joey here. So I am investigating more stutter reports, including one that said the drivers were done, the driver caching was done, and I have run into more optimization issues that seem to be related to how the way the game is coded, not to the drivers in particular. I mean, it could be driver related, that the coding is linked to the drivers and the way the game communicates with the drivers, but I would not put it down to the driver's fault or AMD's fault, because it also happens to NVIDIA users. Just, you need to be aware that if you're looking on Reddit, NVIDIA tend to funnel all the complaints and troubleshooting into a mega thread, so you don't actually see any results come up in Reddit search. If you search Fortnite issues RTX, you'll get like random subreddits with the same problems, but the majority of the complaints are in like a mega thread. So they're comments within a mega thread post, and unless you're looking in the right place, it's very hard to actually see the publicity, the negative press behind it. And that's probably why, because the AMD complaints are literally on the AMD subreddits, and they're not hidden in some kind of mega thread compilation for troubleshooting and complaints and bugs and things. So just to get that out of the way, I did load up Fortnite again to investigate these issues, and as you can see, I have some consistent stutter, and I haven't changed the GPU driver since my last testing, but I changed my texture setting and I did something else because I'm still trying to troubleshoot this issue, and it's probably doing some minor caching right now because I changed a couple settings. And normally it is the effect setting that will trigger the full-on like bad stutter, but changing your texture setting will also cause caching for those textures to be, it has to be redone. But one thing I also found out was there's a few discrepancies with how Fortnite handles as you can see, it's smoothed out now, how Fortnite handles textures. And that is, if you are playing on high or epic, you are most likely running some form of medium textures if you did not manually enable the high texture pack. And the game does not tell you about it. And as you can see, I've got these download textures during gameplay turned off because I don't want my game adding more stutters to doing this. And so the game will not automatically download high-resolution textures, right? But here, if I go to high or epic and I hit apply for textures, the notification is not there anymore, but it'll just say in normal text, like same as this text, it says you do not have the high texture. Like, you'll see it if you don't have it installed. And I didn't have it installed, and I've been testing on high and very high and wondering, well, why are these people getting worse stutter issues than me? With similar specs, they waited for the shader caching to optimize, and they still got stutters in-game. And what I figured out was they're running even higher texture quality than high or epic without the high-definition textures installed. So what that basically means is, while it took me 20 minutes to process with effects set on low, to process the shader optimization or shader caching in the lobby, if I had had the high texture pack installed, the caching would have taken way longer. Maybe 30 minutes, maybe an hour. Depends on the disk speed, whatever else, if you're alt-tabbing out. If you're changing settings, wondering why is this taking so long, you literally have to make sure that it's leveled out like this. And while it's actually caching, the utilization and everything will drop very, very, very low, and it'll stay low until the caching's done, like down into the 10% or lower, depending on your CPU as well. But just long story short, I just want to make that clear that having the high pack, like mine just had to do it for a little bit because I'd already done the initial caching. But even with what I'd done, it still was doing this weird stuttery thing. And now it seems to be fully complete. Now, what I wanted to also elaborate on is that's not the only weird thing I found with how Fortnite is optimized. So I'm on DirectX 12. You can see it's 120 FPS in the lobby. There is additional files being downloaded almost all the time, and it's to do with the stupid store, that it's not the store, the item shop and all the skins are not set to preload on a per player basis. So if you're joining a game with 80 people with 80 different skins, the game does not just preload every single possible skin. It preloads whatever skins those players happen to be using dynamically during gameplay. And what that means is, if you've got a unusually bad ping, like over 100 ms, if your game is dynamically streaming textures at 100 ms, you're going to witness packet loss and stuttering if your game cannot stream them in fast enough before you encounter those players. And the best way to tell that it's doing that is if you're sitting in the lobby, not in the lobby like here where I am, but in the in-game lobby, waiting for players to join, and every time people joining, you're seeing really bad FPS drops. That is the skins dynamically being loaded in. And the same thing when you're dropping from the bus. If you don't see all the players in the lobby, based on your view distance as well, and whether you've looked at them during the lobby process, like the player joining process, when you drop out of the bus, those skins are dynamically being preloaded. And the way I can prove this, because it sounds like, oh yeah, he's saying that, but how can he prove it? Because just because it seems like that's what's happening, that may not be what's actually happening, right? Well, look what happens when I go into the item shop, and this is just abnormal behavior, because you would think skins, item shop, it's all preloaded, I'm in the menus, why would it stream them in while I'm looking in the item shop? Because that's what it's doing in game. And that's the most likely explanation. So right now I'm loading in store items and assets, right? And see the minor stutter there? But I can show you it like even more detail. If I just look at any of these packs that anyone could buy, so I don't have these packs, but whoever is running these skins would have them, right? What happens if I look at them in game? I just want to look at the texture because, you know, those textures should be loaded, right? With the update, you'd think. Watch this when I click on inspect items. Watch the FPS. If there's a spike on the frame time. That. Now multiply that by like 50 players. Okay, so did you see that? And I've actually looked at these in game before. So, but look at that. Look. If I just mouse over these, it did it at first, but now it's not doing it anymore. See those bad spikes when I first like scrolled through? And I can do it for any other asset in the store. And this is what people need to realize. Fortnite has crap optimization, and the store assets is what's ruining the game and causing a lot of these stutters. So if I go to the Summer Legends pack, I've never looked at this. Watch my FPS as I mouse over, and these assets are loaded into my game for the first time. Look at that. Does that look familiar? Like, it's only small because I'm only doing one set of assets at a time, but imagine 50 players doing it to your game. And how many assets are in the store? Like, how many different skins are actually in the game at this point? It's not just this handful of packs. There is way more than this. That everyone, like, there's just such a variety. And it's not preloading. So even if I go here, like, I have to do it faster to give you a better idea, like, whether the actual skin is not going to probably do it for this one. There's only 3, but... See that? See the stutter that comes up? So it can do it fast enough in the shop where it's not too many assets at once, but you can just imagine it, like, doing that on a larger scale. Here's a bunch, okay? So even just loading this menu, but watch this. I'm going to scroll through, I'm going to mouse over all of these assets, and the game is going to try to load them in as quickly as possible. Just... It can't even load them in fast enough. Like, I have to stop on them for a second. But I mean, this is also probably a fix method, as in, for the assets that are in the store, you can go into the store, mouse over every single item, and maybe preload some of it so that when you get into the game, your stutters won't be as bad. But the problem is some of these packs are no longer available, and a lot of the assets are no longer available. So what do you do in that case? You can't preload them. And I'm just demonstrating a bit more. If looking at these are minor changes. Some of them might be preloaded. I can't, like, guarantee that it's all going to cause a problem. But you can just see these spikes, and they are directly timed with me looking at different items and loading in the textures for them. So this is a bigger pack. See that? And then we're gonna... It's probably also loading in, like, this kind of thing. The emotes that you might not have. So you might not have the animation loaded because they're unique, you know, emote animations. And when a player loads in that has all these different combinations, and it's just one player, right? Maybe he has like 10 different assets you haven't preloaded. It'll be like that. Does that start to look familiar? Like, it was only a short amount. So I think I've proven the point quite thoroughly. Like, that really makes sense. It's what's happening. And I don't think it's up to AMD to, like, preload assets that are coming from the Fortnite servers. It's to do with the Fortnite devs to have all this crap preloading, even if it somehow has some algorithm that can detect what everyone's using and it preloads it before the start of the match. So, you know, you've got 100 players and it does it all in the lobby waiting area where all the players are waiting. If all the preloading could finish in that lobby, like they could prioritize that, then once you get in game, people would have smooth gameplay. But if they don't do that, or they don't find any way to preload it, people are going to keep complaining about this kind of thing. And the worse your ping is, the worse it's going to be. So I'll see if my own assets, like, I don't have many, but I'll see if they are even causing it, because I haven't been using them all for a while. Yeah, even just switching between them causes very, very minor drops. But I could imagine if the lobby was uncapped and I was at 160, I could see those dropping the FPS. What I'll try doing as well is I will try restarting my FPS counter. So without me mousing over anything, our 1% low is at 111, 112, and I'm going to click on a couple of these back blings. So we dropped to 109 from those few. They weren't preloaded, even though they're in my own inventory. So yeah, and now they're giving me minor, you know, like after they're loaded, I can try resetting my FPS counter to see what my 1% low stabilizes at. It's not that high actually, and my average is at 120. Does my average go down below 120 if I do this fast enough? Whoops, didn't even mean to do that. But yeah, you can see that, like me just switching through a couple of the animations, and it's causing FPS, and that's at a locked 120, which is less. You won't notice the dip on a frame time graph when the FPS is only dropping from 120 to 110. But if you were at 200 FPS and it's dropping to 100 because of these assets loading in, then yeah. And honestly, I don't even know what to do. Like, I don't think there's a fix we can do at our end for this. I just want to demonstrate it to show you guys that that is the most likely explanation. And some people say, oh, after I play a few matches, my performance smooths out. That is exactly why, because you're getting those assets into your VRAM cache or your your VRAM cache or your game cache, and maybe they stay there for the duration, but they could be getting cleared. Like, I don't know what Fortnite's doing. It could be have a temporary cache that gets wiped every time you close the game for those store assets. So I don't know. Like, maybe there needs to be its own. The game just needs to have its own preloading of all the possible assets to avoid this problem. Like an asset cache that loads in as you launch the game or something like that. Because there are just so many different, like, can I go into here and is there like rewards for this stuff? Probably that I can't see. But you know what I mean, like, what about this stuff? Does this cause anything? Yeah. I guess it's communicating with the server. That might also have something to do with it. The way the game communicates, changes that you've made to your game has to reflect for all the other game players in a match, which means it has to reflect on the server. So if there's server delays going on, that means there's server delays, not just your data going to the server, but the server sending data back. And if that data is an in-game asset, which loads to your GPU cache, right? It's a skin or a model texture or an animation, then that's self-explanatory. You're going to get FPS drops and stutters while that happens. But anyway, I will show you how my game's running. I'll do squads, which has build mode. I honestly do not like the build meta of shooting and building at the same time, but other people will be building in it. So at the very least, I can show you how my game's performing, and I have not done any warming up matches to let the assets load in. So this will probably be a worst case scenario, as long as you see that my lobby FPS, because I've done the caching in the lobby, and I've got the high texture pack installed this time, is all done. And we'll see how much VRAM the high texture pack uses anyway, because I'm curious. I've got it on Epic Textures. And also, because of what I've said, like what I've described to you, the most likely setting, if you're just trying to get the stutters as minimal as possible, just pretend that you want to play regardless. You're going to try to play no matter what. You're just putting up with the stutters. Even though it's a competitive setting, this is the setting that would most likely affect those model asset loading stutters, because it affects how far you see players, so how far the assets load in. And if there's 80 players in your vicinity, the stutters are going to be much worse than if there's 10 players in your view distance. Okay, so turn your view distance down to as low as you can bear. It is a CPU bound setting as well, so if you're kind of already CPU bound, you're getting the additional benefit. But you can just see all these different skins, guys. I mean, they're not even in the store if I try to look for them. I didn't see Carnage there. But I mean, It's mostly when players are joining in that I haven't seen the skins of before that I've noticed. And then it still kind of smooths out a tiny bit. Oh, I can't build it. Honestly, I can't build in any situation. So as well, this is where you'll see all the rest of the stutters is people dropping out of the bus because of their asset, what they contain. So maybe I've seen most of them in... Nope, I haven't seen some of them. But that is it. And I'll uncap the FPS just to show you how high I can actually get on my setup at 3440 by 4040. And look at all this different... There's even like a stream, like he had different trail... There was an RGB stream on that guy's Airstream trail, those two. And this is on far, it's not even on Epic. I'll get worse drops on Epic, but that is one thing you can do. So make sure the caching is complete in the lobby, in the game menus, I should say. Make sure your game is fully cached, and then on top of that, turn your view distance down if you're still getting bad in-game stutters. And as you can see, now that the bus is finished with the players jumping out and all those assets, my stutters will probably be minimal at that point. But if I had jumped out of the bus early, I wouldn't have seen a lot of people, because some people jump out usually around halfway, around here. So if I had just jumped out as soon as the bus came onto the map, I would have missed a lot of that asset caching. So staying on the bus and looking at the back of the bus may actually help in reducing the stutters that happen during gameplay. So anyway, I'll try to go down and see if there's more streaming in that happens. I mean, there could be players still joining. Yeah, they're on that roof. Yeah, there are players here, that's why. But hopefully I've seen most of them by now. And there's some players down there about to attack my team. I need a gun. I'll put this up here. Are you using a small gun? Oh, what is this? Oh, yeah, this is a bad location. But as you can see, look at the frame rate. This is in the build mode. And whenever we were spotting players, like if you were paying really close attention, whenever I was spotting a new player that maybe I hadn't seen their skin before, we were getting started. But then as soon as I got on the ground, it smoothed out because I wasn't looking at new players and I'd already seen everyone in that town area. So, I don't know, we could try spectating my ally here. I don't know if this is my ally or if we're all dead. Okay, we all died. So I'll just go to another match. I don't want to make this video too long, but I wanted to kind of at least give people some kind of explanation because it is the best one I can come up with. I do not think it's driver related. Unless, I mean, maybe the Fortnite had optimized for the previous driver caching method, right? So it's possible that the newer drivers have less optimization, but it's not entirely because of AMD. Like, they're also trying to make their drivers run efficiently. Which we've seen because some games are getting good performance boosts, but Fortnite are not updating their game, and this store stuff with the store loading in doesn't even make sense. Like, it's not preloaded, and that is not on AMD. Like, AMD do not code the game to how it's gonna stream assets in. Anyway, cancel. I need to pay more attention to where I landed. Those guys, I knew they were on the roof and I still went near the building. Pretty sad of me. But we'll also see what happens with the second match. If we get the same amount of stutters in the player joining area. But as you can see, like, just spectating this dude, it is pretty damn good. And this is 22.6.1, you know, like everyone's saying AMD's got a problem with Fortnite. No, I think it's just an asset store loading kind of issue. I can't even see my finger, why is it not coming up? Sorry, I'm just going to check my settings. I don't know why the game would hide it. You can see I'm on a high ping, 184 ms. But in the actual lobby, it wasn't showing, it wasn't showing the full range calibration. Be under display. Where does that go? Can't see anything, so maybe I have to be the actual one playing. I think I'll just snip this into the next match, like I'll cut and paste it for you guys, so you don't have to sit here waiting. I wanted my I don't know, maybe it was showing, it just wasn't showing me, because it only shows it at certain times. I don't think it was runtime performance stats, because that's basically it, yes. But maybe, I don't know, creative runtime. Assets loading, or building, maybe. I'm not sure. Might not even apply to this mode. Could be for creative mode. So yeah, we're seeing different skins that I haven't seen some of these before. But once I've looked around at the players, it's only going to be new players loading in that will do it. Like that wheelchair thing. But do you see what I mean though? Like, it's when players are joining in that I haven't seen the assets for. And then once I like look around and it finishes, like no one else is joining around me, it's pretty good. And we'll see if there's anyone I missed, because they could have been somewhere else in the waiting area. But see now they're dropping out, it's not stuttering. Most of them. Any of them. See that? Wow. Yeah, there was one. Okay, so maybe I hadn't seen some of those. They look new. They waited till late to jump out as well. But see, after I've looked at them, now it's not that. Why is it not stuttering now? Because I've already seen those models, those assets load in. It makes sense. It's loading in just then. The moon? What the heck? There was a drop just as I moused up, but I could be flying. Like I do have it on. Oh yeah. I'm high enough that I can see the ground with far view distance, and I may have spotted a couple players that I missed jumping out of the bus. I'll see if it does it as I go down. If there's anyone else around here or not. But theoretically, there should be like minimal players in this area, like it's not a populated drop zone. So I'll get minimal stutters, if any. Yeah. Seems okay around here. I can move the mouse past. It's nothing to do with the game. Maybe what's that? There was one when I moved it really fast. But it's hard though, because the view distance and where a player might be on your map, they could be in vicinities that when you're doing this, you've just managed to swipe past the player that you just didn't notice them. They're hiding in a tree or something. It's kind of hard to tell. So I'll run over here. Maybe there is a player over this direction. And if we happen to run into a player, it'll help verify what's going on. Or it could have been a freaking chest with like... Oh, that didn't cause any issues. I don't know if the chest item location spawns in the game are dynamic or not. Like, if they load in dynamically, then that would also... may also cause that kind of thing. You'll see a random FPS spike, frame time spike. So anyway, I'll go back to what I was doing, and that was seeing if moving my mouse erratically can cause FPS drop. And no. I think it is assets. Like when it happens, it's an asset somewhere that's doing something that you can't see at all. And we'll also see, I'm getting around 200 FPS here. We'll also test that theory of mine. Well, not really a theory, I know it's for a fact. But the view distance affects, it's CPU bound, it's not a GPU setting really. If turning it down a near will boost my FPS above 200, and yeah, now I'm pushing towards 300. So I'm at 260, 240, 250, roughly 250. Looking at this scene. Oh, that's not an enemy. Yeah, that's a teammate. Okay. 250. And then if I just put it up one notch, what does it do? Because it is loading players in a closer vicinity. This is separate to the asset loading, like that would still make it even worse, but I lost 20 FPS from just that, 230, from just going to medium. And then going to far, I lost another 10 FPS or so, so 220. But this is dynamic though, like some areas will be way worse. You lose way more if you're in a populated area because it's drawing in the distance of the players too. Not just like chests and trees and stuff. And on Epic, we're down at 218. It wasn't as bad as... High to Epic isn't as bad. But as you can see, 200, and then if I go to the top of this hill and look towards like a town, which there is an enemy player over there, we are at 200 looking at the town where there's some players, and I'm going to compare it to how much FPS you lose or gain going down to medium. And I'll go down by notch. So far, 200, we're still at 200. They're too close. It doesn't, like, I'm not even far enough because it's a sniping distance for far and Epic. If I go to near, we gain 40 FPS. Oh, it's around 200. We gain 30 to 40 FPS, which is pretty massive. Oh, my team wants to push these guys. We're outnumbered. So yeah, if you want to try to reduce the random stutters due to the assets, changing your distance will definitely help. Get him, teammate. Wait, stop. There's even more people here. Oh, we all died. Anyone alive? Can I heal? Teammate, where is he? He's out in the middle of the gook knows where. But yeah, so you could see, you can just imagine that if you're running high or epic view distance, and it's not necessarily that the stutter is causing that, but you'll be at a lower FPS, and way more assets have the potential to suddenly load in. So if you're running towards the city, and you haven't done what I just explained, you haven't been playing much, you'll see tons of that. Tons of the FPS drop. Let's see if this Kenobi dude is gonna carry me. So yeah, there was building. This is the build mode. I'm not personally building just because I don't like it, but this is just to show if the build mode itself and other players building, which is basically the same thing, has any severe stutter issues. And I can confirm there is definitely stutter issues, but it seems mostly related to the assets, to the skins and the store stuff. Gonna get away. Wow, we might have to go open. Oh. Yeah, I haven't even seen this guy before. It was a weird call. Keep him on my screen. Alrighty, one more match. It's probably going to be a 45-minute video, 40-minute video. It's fine. I just wanted to show you guys the game's behavior, and I'll tap it for like 144. Because I am at ultra wide, it's also adding bandwidth to my setup. Like I'm using higher bandwidth because I'm at a higher resolution, and it's kind of not even showing how good the game can actually run because of these large texture sizes that would be up at this quality. So I could try to compensate a bit. Like I could set it to high. I'll leave this on far because that's maybe what people medium to far would be a better setting rather than epic. But I still think it mostly comes down, just to show you my settings again, it's competitive settings. But see, what happens is if you're doing all of that caching stuff, and you've got the models also causing FPS drop, the store is causing FPS drop. If your internet has good ping, but your download speed is low, it's going to take you way longer to stream in any of the store assets, which I think some of them even stream in very slowly while you're sitting here. You'll actually get, like if you haven't gone through the item shop and clicked on everything, you'll actually get slow, like really minor. It's like the store's checking up on your account or something, I don't know. It could even be something Fortnite's doing to everyone's systems, like it's checking stuff that, I don't know if they got anti-cheat or something. But as you can see how stable my FPS is after I've done the majority of that caching stuff. But if it's not complete, and you go into your settings and go, why is my game lagging? And you go ahead and change effects and you change textures, quality, you change anything that can cause more caching to happen, you're going to basically make the asset loading plus caching combined, causing two sources of FPS drop that will just turn your game into a stutter fest. And when the game is doing that texture-related caching stuff, the utilization drops because it's memory controller utilization, which is not shown on the core load. It's shown under a different metric. It's shown in, like, if I just bring up hardware info, give you guys an example. It's shown under, not sure if I've even got it showing, but there's a memory utilization clock. I don't even think I have it showing. It's not GPU utilization or memory usage specifically, although it looks like there's some disk caching going on for sure. It is, I can actually bring it up in GPU. I don't have the sensor showing in hardware info, but you can bring up this sensor too if you were curious, if you maybe want to look for yourself. Memory controller load. It is this that will tend to spike more when you're doing any type of caching. I'm not caching right now, so obviously it's not going to do anything. But if I maybe play with, my game doesn't have to recache because I've already built it on most. I went through all the effect settings and cached it already. But it may do it. It may do a little bit for high with the new texture pack because I've got I installed the high definition textures. So if I go to high or epic now, it probably has to recache some of it. Yeah, it's doing something, and then you'll see. Sorry, I've got to leave it on dynamic. It's not necessarily a high load because it's just like streaming it in as it needs to. It's using the memory controller to build the cache and some of the GPU, but it will just be an inconsistent load. I think my utilization actually went up when I did that. If I go to Epic, let's see if it does it a lot more for Epic. Nope. What about on Epic textures? With Epic effects. Only a little bit. But as you can see, it's doing like a bit more than it was doing before. It's not a level line. But it's only the fact that my hardware is powerful enough, my CPU, everything, the bandwidth is good. So maybe the effect isn't as bad for me of these minor stutters here. But if you were on a weaker system that only runs 60 FPS in the menu, oh look, it started doing something actually. It took some time to even detect that I'd changed the textures and changed the effects. And I'm pretty sure maybe I just triggered something. It's doing some kind of caching now. Maybe it takes time, like, because, you know, we're not getting any UI notification. The game's not saying, hey, I'm going to start caching some stuff and optimizing your shaders, your new settings. And it's just decided, okay, after about a minute of me talking, it's going to start doing it. And now, definitely, this is what I would call caching stutter. And look how much, like if I was on a 60 FPS system, I would be dropping down to 20 to 10 FPS. And I'm on 120 and I was dropping much lower. And it's still going. Like even if it seems like it leveled out, if you see this type of stuff, it is still doing something. It could be item model, you know, minor assets, creating the cache for that. But it is still processing something and I've got to wait. Like it doesn't make sense to try to play when the game's still doing that because I know for a fact that my FPS cap will stabilize at a very, very stable frame latency. So If you're looking at this graph, maybe your FPS is at 80 FPS, and if you're seeing any type of hitching and you know that at the menu you can set it to stable 80, then yeah. But if I go back to low, I think this is already cached. If I go back to low and high textures was what I was using, or I'll just leave it on, yeah, high. Look at that, because I've already cached low and high textures. But it's a combination, so this combined with this might trigger caching, and it might restart and do it all over again, or try to finish what it never completed. If you've been messing with your settings too much, trying to smooth the game out, you have to be aware that it has to completely finish. Otherwise, you go back to another setting and you change it, you never finished in the first place, it's just going to start all over again. Possibly. I'm not sure if it starts from scratch or if it, you know. But see that? That's how smooth it is at 120 on my setup. So if your setup's like an 80 FPS setup or 60 FPS setup, you'll know once it's done. Okay, now I'm going to try something else. We're going to try high with medium. Actually, one theory I also have that could help with the asset loading is the assets, I'm not sure if they have a fixed texture quality, but on the chance that they have a lower texture quality, or it's based on your texture quality setting of what assets are going to load in, if you lower your textures, the size of the asset might change. You might get smaller assets because the file sizes are smaller for a lower texture quality. So technically, if the asset's loading in from other players, even though you've got like a beast system, right, but your internet's not that great, or your download speed's not that great, your ping's good, but your download actual rate to the server might not be super good, lowering the texture quality would also have a beneficial effect, combined with the view distance. So medium and medium, even though you're on a really powerful system, because of the asset issue. And when you change that, just make sure that sit in the lobby. Now I know to do this. Sit and wait to make sure it doesn't start doing something. Because I might load into a game, and if I got the timing right, it would seem smooth in the lobby, like I've waited for it, and then as soon as I get in the game, it starts trying to optimize shaders like there's a delay on it. So I got to make sure. But I think I'm okay. I'm in the clear here because I've done low effects already. But if I put the effects up to, say, high, which I haven't done high with medium textures, let's see what happens. If it starts trying to do any more caching, extra caching. Yeah, look at that. And that'll finish. Like, it'll eventually smooth out if I wait here long enough, like 5 minutes sometimes. Sometimes it's quick. It depends on what setting combinations you've played with. But as you can see, I'm able to trigger this caching behavior, and now it's still going. It looked like it was about to finish, but it's busy. And that's done. Just restart my FPS tab, see if it does anything else. So see how I changed the settings around and it triggered some kind of building? It's like building optimizing again. That is going to be even slower on a weaker system. If you've got a weaker CPU, you've got less bandwidth, your RAM's not running at 3600 megahertz. All those have to factor in. Your GPU bandwidth, all of it. So yeah, it looks like we're clear, but normally for competitive, when I turn effects up, the only major change I notice is going to Epic Effects adds volumetric clouds to when you're dropping from the bus, and those also impact the frame rate. And I just found running low was fine for me. Maybe there's some special effect you'd like the look of on higher settings, but I would still avoid Epic if you can. But for my test, I just also want to see if it affects the asset issue we were just testing earlier. So I'm just going to go with low, which is what I like, and competitively, it's the best setting for competitive. And medium view distance because I don't do that much sniping, and if I'm getting shot from invisible players far away, at least I'll be able to just crank it up at the time. Because view distance is separate. It doesn't cause any more caching to happen. It's just the distance is asset loading. And medium textures just to see if medium textures is a bit smoother because of those assets. And I'll also check the item shop if it's still doing it, because I might have to reload the asset for medium textures, you know? The item shop might be all in medium now, I don't know. And that's kind of the hard thing when testing stuff, is you have to think, what if it's going to do something else? Like, what if the game's going to start loading in medium quality textures for all of the assets, and I'm actually going to get more initial stutter, but it'll be quicker. Like, see that? There is stutters. Or FPS drop. I don't know, you can call it whatever you want. I'm seeing my frame latency changing and spikes in the frame consistency from going through these assets again. And that is worth taking into consideration. Like, see that? I hadn't actually gone to this character before. But it seems quicker. Maybe it's a little bit quicker. I'll go to the big pack. Is there a bigger pack somewhere? It was these packs that I was looking at earlier that caused a lot of, they had more items in them. I'll mouse over these again and see if they're still doing it. Yeah. Still did it, but it was pretty quick. It wasn't as bad as the very first time, where I saw noticeable spikes. It was like one, yeah, like that. Another one. Yeah, these ones I hadn't loaded. Or it's reloading them, I don't know. But now if I encounter that in-game, I'm really hoping, if I encounter that in-game that I won't actually get a, an asset loading spike for it. One more. Maybe just swap and go in them. It's like there's a delay in the way it accesses the file system or something. Like it loads it into the VRAM. It's almost like there's a delay at the driver game level. Something's not optimized properly. So yeah, obviously AMD and Fortnite both need to work together to fix it, but I think the way the game does it in general is on Fortnite devs. The way that it's loading stuff in the store while I'm looking at it is, can't the store, like the store should just load in, get everything it needs, and done. But it's like it's loading it in dynamically. Oh wait, these are new. The heck? I haven't even seen these before. Yeah, these also cause some dips. See that? Yeah, it's done it. Even just for these minor, tiny hacks. Oh yeah, now you got a really good idea, I'm sure, if you watch this far in. And I'm just going to play one more with the settings I changed to see if it alleviates some of it, and how smooth we can get it to run. But I'll run my normal FPS caps, because most people on ultra-wide would be running 144 Hz or maybe 165 Hz at best. I think I've heard of a 165 Hz ultra-wide, but most of them, if you're pushing into 200 Hz or 200 FPS, will be 2560 by 1080, like their lower resolution ultra-wide monitors. So it doesn't make sense for me to try to run a higher, super high frame rate at a low refresh rate, because it's using more bandwidth. It's using more of the file system, more bandwidth of the system, and the game's got like a optimization issue with assets. So running a capped FPS closer to your refresh rate may actually help with the 1% lows, because there's more spare resources available to intercept those assets and load them in. But if it's purely a server-side delay, like maybe the server has a delay to actually send an asset, like the data, your game needs this asset, right? If there's any kind of latency between the server and your game, that's going to appear in your frame latency, like as a stutter or an FPS drop, because it's not just a pure texture loading delay then, it's a server-side communication texture load delay. I think I've seen quite a few skins already, but yeah, still seeing new ones. Like that. Try to get a good view of as many people as I can. And I'll untap it just for this early, once I get in-game. I mean, it doesn't matter if untap will just give everyone an idea if the untap becomes a problem or not. I don't think untap is a problem as long as the temperatures are good. Still doing it. Not necessarily moving the mouse fast, but players. So let's try to watch these players jump out. 400 FPS, look at the sky. Yeah, you can. No.
No? So,
I would let
I
me.
want to the tower.
Okay.
Yeah. Guys,
Okay.
isn't that to... Yeah, hello? Hello?
Oh,
Hello? You hear me?
hello. Yeah,
How old are you?
45.
Oh, wait a minute. Are you an old man?
Thanks.
Hey guys, someone? Oh no, that's you. I'm scared. Here, have a big pot. I don't really need it. How will you need it, bro?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, I love being nice to my teammates. I'll go check down here, bro. Oh, my favorite gun.
The
I'll
heck?
take
That
it.
guy just disappeared. Where did he go? Oh, that was freaky. He just like teleported into the. He went to a crack,
When
a
I
rift.
add this noise,
Yeah, it's still doing some asset loading, I reckon. It's not preloading properly.
this is my favorite. Ow! Oh, I aimed him good. Yay! Okay, let me take that. That's fine. Take this shotgun. How many times this? For this and this. I'll take this, thank you. Yeah, boy. I hope we get the job. Ow! And I'm dead. They're coming. No. Where shall we? Wait a minute. Where did he land at? Oh my god. Why did you really have to land over there? I told you need to land at Churchy Towers. Hide in here.
But yeah,
Hey, bro, hide in here.
the heck, this isn't gonna matter.
Come. Here.
But you can also see there is net info in the top left near my health bar
The stairs.
over here.
Let's go.
And
Oh yeah, hide right there.
if you go back and replay the video to when I was
Hide
getting
over
stutters
here.
in game, you will
I'll be right
sometimes see
here,
packet loss
and you'll be
coinciding
up
with
there.
those. And that's how I figured out most of this as well, as I was looking at in-game packet loss dropping from the bus and things like that, and just realized that it seemed to be whenever I saw a skin that I'd never seen before.
Oh no, we're done. No.
That's like beating everyone.
Hey, Bob, what are you
That
waiting
is
for?
a
Go
skin.
get us one more low. Oh, get us. No, don't do it yet, Bob. And we're gonna die, no?
But the thing is, as well, if you look at the packet loss though, it is not at a high update rate. Normally your KBS and packets, everything, that number is changing very, very, very fast. And it looks like it's on like a 1000 ms or something update rate. So what you're actually seeing is not real time. It's not as fast as it's actually moving. So when there's packet loss and stutters, you won't always see that it showed packet loss. It can have it, but you just missed it because the OSD thing wasn't updating fast enough. But yeah, the game's pretty smooth once you understand why it's doing it, and you'll notice that once you've seen a player, they might stutter when you first see them, but then it's smooth. as we can see from this guy playing here. But I also need to do one more test. This video is going way too long. I want to do one more test for building and actually do building. I suck at building, but I'll just like spam some stairs and see if spamming stairs when there's no asset floating around, like I'll just I'll land in a spot away from players and see if the act of actually spamming stairs is causing stutters. There's also a possibility that server-side packet loss and stutters, because when you're building really quick, it has to transmit to the server, which has to in turn transmit to all the other players in the match. So technically, if your ping and your download rate are not able to keep up with that, it could cause stutters. Or the server could actually just be sending you packet loss because you're building too fast. And that's something else I have to test. If it's purely assets or if it's a server thing causing... Because I'm sure I've seen it. Like, I've seen people trying to build really fast and they're getting stutters and they're saying the game's broken and it's on AMD or whatever, but I'm fairly sure it happens to RTX owners. I've seen 3080s and all sorts complaining. How do I add stairs to this bit? That? I have to move up. Oh, I see. So I have my book out. Okay. How high can I go? This game's weird. I never liked the build mode. I'm invincible! Yeah, if there was no fall damage, I would actually like building more. But I would most likely just fool myself by accident. Alrighty. I'm just gonna chop some trees and try building. But I wanna get this spot for asset first. Yeah, there's a little bit. See how Tom, probably people I've seen in the lobby, in the waiting area. See how some of those people didn't cause any problems? And that's this one. Yeah. Self-explanatory at this point. And I'm seeing a lot of these are stuff floating in too. So maybe having higher view distance might actually help them. View distance on par instead. Help with pop-in, sorry. Pop-in annoys me. But probably not good for player fighting. a nice burst drive. Anyways, that seemed fairly smooth, so thanks for watching, guys, and I hope this clears it up for you. Like, basically what you can try to do to smooth out your game is just play matches, but don't actually jump out of the bus in the first 5 seconds, and try to look at as many assets as possible. But again, I'm not 100% sure if it might clear its own cache. You know, it might clear the optimization if you change settings too much, or if you restart your game. I mean, it might do it every single game whenever you restart it. I don't know if it builds a cache that it holds onto, or if updating the drivers or updating the game itself might cause the cache to be re-cleared and you have to build it all over again. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I hope this was informative and helped you out. Bye.